Good morning, sir. Are you worried about these letters? Are you still writing to ministers letters like that? Have you not been behaving unconstitutionally by writing letters like that? Morning.
In the Borneo rainforest of Malaysia this week, Prince Charles is back again on familiar ground. How do we save the forests? It's a long-time passion. Now, leaked documents suggest it was also a source of quick profit and possibly a conflict of interest. Turns out, like the Queen's, his private estate, the Duchy of Cornwall, has millions invested offshore. And in just one buy and sell transaction, in just over a year, it tripled $100,000 investment in a company that specialized in carbon offsetting. The Bermuda-based company was co-run by a longtime friend, Hugh Van Cutsem. The two met in university back in the 60s. A Guardian newspaper investigation followed the money. There are literally hundreds of documents on the company in the Paradise Papers. In the minutes of one board meeting in February 2007, we see the initial purchase right here. It's 50 shares. And a bit lower down, you see that the board unanimously agrees that the Duchy subscription be kept confidential, except for any disclosure required by law. And then we have this other document about a year and a half later, June 18th, 2008, mentioning the sale of those shares up here for $325,000. During that time, Prince Charles publicly promoted carbon offsetting 3 times within the first 7 months after the purchase, according to the BBC. In a statement, a spokesman for Clarence House told CBC News, the Prince has certainly never chosen to speak out on a topic simply because of a company that the Duchy may have invested in. That in the case of climate change, his views are well known. A Duchy spokesman added the Prince has no direct involvement in investment decisions and none has any tax advantage based on location. Nothing illegal here, but it will surely prompt demands for more royal transparency.
The real problem with these revelations, even if Charles had no knowledge whatsoever of what was going on, is that the optics are terrible. It paints the future King of Britain in a bad light. It damages the brand of the British monarchy.
And with the 2 most senior royals now in the spotlight, their wealth seems even further beyond our usual imagination. Nala Ayed, CBC News, London.
Starting with Henry II and further back right to William the Conqueror and beyond that to Alfred the Great.
I went over the now familiar pattern. Wars of the Roses, Clarence, Henry Tudor, and of course the missing link in the royal chain.
All of that's okay, except that we now believe that Edward IV was himself illegitimate. Which means that Elizabeth was illegitimate, Henry VII was illegitimate anyway, so this whole Tudor dynasty is built on a lie. It means that you are the rightful King of England.
Well, there you are.
How do you feel about that?
Bloody awful, isn't it? I don't. Bit of a shock, isn't it? Bit of a shock.
Has it ever crossed your mind before?
No, it hasn't, actually.
But you knew you were a Plantagenet.
Well, yes, I just said, oh, yeah, well, you go back so far and you, somewhere along the line, you're a Plantagenet, you know.
About 100 years ago, this big organization with many branches, they wanted to rule the world basically using Britain as a nucleus of a system, an embryo, which also was going to be joined with the US under the Anglo-American establishment, wrote about the kind of culture and the changes of culture over a 100-year period that they would actually design, implement and bring in. And H.G. Wells talked about it too. He talked about arenas. He says arenas could be put up across the world for sports, for instance. Now at that time, sports was something that children, school children were into. Adults became adults and got onto adult things. So it was unimaginable at the time that people could actually believe that there was even a need for adult sports and entertainment, never mind having arenas built. But he said we can do this, and foist basically a sports culture for the males. Using a tribal system, we're all tribal to an extent, that's why we even bother to vote for a tribal leader. This is well understood, that's why we're supplied with these leaders. And because the average man was to become more disengaged from his own destiny as the expert class arose, it was decided that the males would get their outlet basically, gradually becoming helpless as males through sports. Therefore they'd have a tribal team they could identify with, they could cheer them on as they were winning. In their own personal lives they were getting nowhere, they were getting disenfranchised in a sense as experts took over decision making for them in all kinds of fields. So this was psychology at use, planned before they even implemented the sport. Psychology at use, planned before they even implemented the sports.
That's why they pay athletes these fantastic salaries. I was listening to the radio the other day. They just contracted to pay one player on one team $6 million a year. Can you believe this?
And why is that?
It's the Roman circus. What does the emperor do when the people become restive, and when the people are asking questions, and when the people don't like the policies of the emperor? He sends them to the circus. He creates a circus. He builds a giant coliseum. And he begins to throw the Christians to the lions. And he has great chariot races and football games and basketball games, all to keep the idiots preoccupied with things that don't mean anything in the scheme of the entire world, so that they don't have the time to learn what the truth is, so they don't ever get smart enough to learn how they're being